My mother-in-law found me hiding with a man, accused me of cheating on my husband, and brought her lawyer. She said, "My son and I will take the land you bought as compensation for the divorce." When her lawyer inspected my phone, he found something shocking. He said, "This is bad, but not her." My mother-in-law came at me in a stern voice, saying, "I know you cheated. Hand over the land as alimony for the divorce." But my mother-in-law doesn't understand anything. She doesn't even recognize the man standing right in front of her, and she has no idea who should actually be paying alimony. To reveal the truth, I showed the contents of my phone to the lawyer. "Watch this, now the tables will turn. My name is Hannah. I've been married to Ethan for 3 years. I was drawn to his kindness and good nature, which is why I married him. As an only child, Ethan was doted on by his mother, and it turns out he has a lot of spoiled habits. Once we got married, it became clear just how much his mother had pampered him. We definitely need to have the best food at the wedding, he said during our wedding planning. But if we upgraded the food, we'd go over budget and have to cut costs elsewhere. Ethan, I understand, but we need to think about the budget too. Let's lower the food grade a bit this time." As soon as I said that, he became visibly upset. My mother-in-law, Heather, noticing his displeasure, quickly intervened. "What are you talking about, Hannah? We should absolutely go with the best food, just like Ethan said. This is how it always goes. Heather takes Ethan's side every single time. But what about the budget? We can just cut costs elsewhere, like the decorations or the wedding dress." Trying to solve the problem, Ethan chimed in with a concerned look. "Hold on, Mom, if we skimp on the decorations, the venue will look terrible, so we really shouldn't cut that budget." Heather quickly agreed with him. "You're right, you're so smart, Ethan. That means we'll just have to cut Hannah's dress budget." "Yeah, that makes sense. Besides, Hannah looks good in anything." They talked as if it was already decided. It was my favorite dress, one I had tried on multiple times before deciding. But in the end, I had to give up the dress I wanted and redirect the budget to the food and decorations. Even after the wedding, when we started our life together, Heather continued to interfere whenever we had something to discuss as a couple. For instance, when we were planning to buy a house, as we'd been living in a rented apartment until then, she called us. "Hannah, I heard you're planning to build a new house." "Oh, did Ethan tell you?" "Yes, we just found a great piece of land near the station and signed the contract. We're just starting with the house design now." Ethan mentioned the location, but isn't that plot too large for just the two of you? I feared she might suggest we all live together, so I hurriedly added, "But, if we have kids in the future, our family will grow, so I wanted to make sure we have enough room." "Kids? Does that mean you're expecting?" She latched onto the mention of children right away. "Well, I meant someday in the future." "What? Don't get my hopes up for nothing." "Well, even if you do build a new house, I can trust Ethan to handle everything. Hannah, just make sure you don't interfere too much, okay?" "Yes, I understand." I gave a vague response and quickly hung up the phone, letting out a big sigh. It looked like she was going to want to be heavily involved in the new house plans too. I needed to talk to Ethan as soon as possible, but lately, he's been coming home so late that we barely have time to talk. I usually fall asleep before he gets home. But that night, I stayed up to discuss the situation with his mother. When he finally got home, he looked startled to see me still awake. "What's going on? You're still up?" "Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about something." As I sat down in front of him, I noticed something. "Hey Ethan, didn't you say you were going out for drinks with your colleagues tonight?" "Yeah, that's right. You don't smell like alcohol at all, though." I leaned in closer to sniff, and instead of alcohol, I caught a faint sweet scent on his suit. He quickly pushed me away in a panic. "I had a burger to sober up. I'm exhausted, so I'm going to take a bath." With that, he hurried off to the bathroom. Suspicious. He's definitely hiding something. A hunch told me to act immediately. I quietly took his phone, which he had left in the bathroom, and as expected, it was locked. But knowing Ethan, I figured he wouldn't use a complicated passcode. Just as I thought, the lock opened easily when I entered his birthday. What is this? Inside his phone were countless affectionate messages exchanged with another woman. Unforgivable. I quickly set up his phone to sync with mine so I could monitor his messages too. I had heard about sync tools from a friend in passing, but I never imagined they'd be useful in a situation like this. After putting his phone back in place without a trace, I went to the bedroom and checked his messages. That's when I discovered he had been secretly dating another woman for the past year under the pretense of work. You've got some nerve. If that's how Ethan wants to play it, then I immediately contacted a friend from college. "Hello, Benjamin? It's been a while, but could we meet up sometime soon?" The next day, Ethan went to work as if nothing had happened, completely unaware that I had seen the contents of his phone. He continued coming home late, just as he always did, claiming he was working overtime. But now I knew the real reason why. I began meeting up with Benjamin whenever Ethan stayed out late. On this particular day, Ethan had left the house, saying he had to work on the weekend as usual. I arranged to meet Benjamin, and as we walked quietly together, I suddenly heard someone call out from behind us. That was my mother-in-law, Heather. Heather? What are you doing here? That's my line. What are you doing here? Who is this man? No way. Are you having an affair? No, it's not what you think. Shut up. I can't believe you would betray my precious Ethan like this. Heather took me and Benjamin home with her on the spur of the moment. I caught you cheating on my precious son, and you can't get away with it. You better be prepared for the consequences. Heather's intensity made Benjamin go quiet. I've just called the lawyer I know, so stay here quietly. Heather stared at us, making sure we didn't try to escape. When the lawyer arrived, Heather began to explain dramatically. Listen to me. My daughter-in-law was having an affair with this man in broad daylight. How ungrateful can she be with a husband as fine as my son? The lawyer looked at Heather calmly and asked, how can you be sure this is definitely an affair? Heather responded with conviction, they were on a date together, and I saw them near the station. It's obvious they were sneaking around wearing hats and sunglasses. Near the station? Well, that does not conclusively prove cheating, the lawyer said. What? Why not? Heather demanded. For a moment, Heather looked disheartened, but then her eyes brightened as if she had just thought of something. Hannah, show me your phone. What? I replied, bewildered. There must be evidence on your phone. Show it to me, Heather insisted. She snatched the phone from me and handed it to the lawyer. I felt cornered but resolute. I turned to my lawyer and said, I'm not going to let them get away with this. Okay, I understand, he said. You can examine all the contents of my phone. We have nothing to hide. I handed over the password to my lawyer and asked him to review the contents. The lawyer meticulously checked each application, his hand moving slowly until he eventually stopped. Heather's hopes rose at his serious expression. This is it. You finally found evidence of an affair, Heather exclaimed, rubbing up against the lawyer. If you've got proof, then we need to talk. Hannah, you're divorcing Ethan. Well, Heather, calm down and listen to me. I said it's too late for excuses now, Hannah, Heather interrupted. That's not enough alimony. Ethan and I will take the land you bought in front of the station, Heather said with a proud smile, then turned to her lawyer, expecting support for her claim. Make sure you get your fee from this cheater, Heather demanded, but the lawyer hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. No mercy. Cheating on your spouse is the lowest thing a person can do. We're not reducing the alimony by a single cent. That's not the case here. It's not your daughter-in-law who's been unfaithful, it's your son. What? What are you talking about? The messages we found on your daughter-in-law's phone are proof of your son's affair. He's the one who will have to pay alimony. What? She snatched the phone from the lawyer and looked at the messages. These are Ethan's messages. Just as she was processing this, Ethan walked in. I'm home. What's going on here? He froze in shock, seeing his mother and two strangers in the house. Heather approached him, holding the phone. Ethan, what is the meaning of this? Isn't that Hannah's phone? Why are my messages on it? So, it really was you who sent these? No, wait, Hannah, it's not what you think, he tried desperately to explain, but it was already too late. He continued to defend himself, saying, I was just messing around. Ever since we got married, Hannah hasn't respected me, and these messages were just a way to relieve stress. This isn't proof of an affair. As usual, Heather quickly took his side. That's true. Ethan has been under a lot of stress from work. He's practically the victim here. Exactly, and who are these people anyway? Ethan asked. Heather suddenly remembered the situation and said, that's right. Forget about those messages. I caught Hannah in the act with this man. She's the one who should pay alimony. Ethan, you should divorce her immediately, and we'll build a house on that land and live together. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Heather, how blind can you be? Excuse me, they made plans to meet and even discussed what happened afterward in those messages. How can you not see that your son is the one who's been cheating? So what? That doesn't give you the right to cheat too. Even if Ethan did cheat, you're just as guilty. Unlike Ethan, I have nothing to hide. Then who is this man? You wouldn't be sneaking around in disguises if you weren't cheating. You're wrong. He's a private investigator. We went to college together, and he's been helping me gather evidence of Ethan's affair. Finally, Benjamin spoke up. Ideally, I should have done the investigation alone, but Hannah insisted on seeing the affair with her own eyes. Since getting spotted by her husband would have blown our cover, I had her wear a disguise. Normally, private investigators don't use such obvious disguises. Hearing this, Ethan turned pale. A private investigator? How long have you been watching me? I looked at Ethan and said, since the day you came home smelling like perfume. That's when I checked your phone and confirmed the affair. But no matter how many messages I collected, they weren't enough to be definitive proof, so I asked Benjamin to help me catch you in the act with your lover. I pulled out several photos of Ethan from my bag. Thanks to that, I've gathered plenty of evidence. With these, we can prove the affair, right? The lawyer, suddenly addressed, quickly regained his composure and answered, yes, with these photos and the messages, there's no way to deny it. So we can file for divorce and demand alimony, right? Absolutely. Wait, don't talk about alimony like that. We're still husband and wife, aren't we? I immediately cut him off. You're the one who betrayed me and had an affair. I can't stay married to you. You're really going to throw away our marriage over one mistake? Mom, say something. His mother, of course, sided with him. That's right. A marriage shouldn't be so easily broken. You're overreacting, Hannah. Divorce over an affair? That's ridiculous. Overreacting? Just a moment ago, you said that cheating on a spouse is the lowest thing a person can do. Why don't you tell Ethan the same thing? Well, everyone makes mistakes sometimes. Mistakes? Do you really think that excuses it? I fully agree with what you said earlier, cheating is despicable. After the divorce, I'll be taking the land as part of the alimony. Wait. That land belongs to me and Ethan. Didn't you say that the land wouldn't even cover the alimony? Since the lawyer is already here, let's have you sign an agreement right now. I want a legally binding document to make sure there's no escape. Heather, trapped by her own words, fell silent. Ethan, seeing his mother unable to speak, started to panic. Mom, why aren't you saying anything? You're supposed to be on my side. I looked at Ethan and firmly told him, don't think your mom can always protect you. It's time you took responsibility for your own actions. Realizing he couldn't rely on his mother, Ethan suddenly turned to me for support. Hannah, I was wrong. You've opened my eyes. From now on, I won't rely on my mom anymore. Let's start over. Excuse me? What on earth are you thinking? I didn't go through all the trouble of disguising myself and gathering evidence just to wake you up. I did it to make sure the divorce goes smoothly. I collected evidence to ensure I get the alimony you owe for your affair. So you don't love me anymore? Of course not. How could I love someone who cheated on me and betrayed my trust? I then asked the lawyer, by the way, do you happen to have a divorce form with you? The lawyer, a bit surprised, replied, well, yes, I do. When your mother-in-law asked me to come today, she told me to bring one for you to sign. Thank you, Heather. I'll gladly make use of the divorce papers you had prepared. Right there and then, I had Ethan sign the divorce papers and started the process to claim alimony. With both a private investigator and a lawyer present, there was no way he could escape. I immediately went to file the divorce papers and, under the lawyer's supervision, completed the transfer of the property title. The land I received as part of the settlement is too large for one person, but maybe I'll build an apartment complex and become a landlord. At least Ethan's affair was exposed before we started building the house. That's something to be thankful for. It seems that this whole ordeal finally made Heather realize how wrong she was in raising Ethan. After the divorce, she took him back into her home and started disciplining him with a strictness completely opposite to how she had treated him before. My ex-husband has now become a man who constantly looks over his shoulder, afraid of what others think. Judging by that, it's likely that his affair partner has already lost interest in him. With Heather always watching him at home, he probably doesn't have time to date anyone anyway. Knowing Heather's obsessive nature, it will be a long time before she fully acknowledges her mistakes. When I think about Ethan's future, trapped under his mother's control, I realize I didn't need to punish him at all. As for me, this experience has brought Benjamin and me closer. Having seen the darker sides of people, Benjamin has found it hard to trust others, which is why he hasn't married yet. I also still struggle with trusting men, but maybe because of that, we both understand that we must not repeat the same mistakes. Starting a new life with someone like Benjamin might be just what I need. I'm finally able to look forward with hope.